Have you ever heard of a house so terrifying that a family fled in the middle of the night, leaving all their possessions behind? Today, we're re-delving into one of the most famous and controversial haunting stories of all time, the Amityville Horror. The story begins not with a ghost, but with a real-life tragedy. In the early hours of November 13, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. took a high-powered rifle and systematically murdered his entire family, his parents, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, all as they slept in their beds at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. DeFeo's story changed multiple times. First, he claimed he found his family dead. Then, he suggested a mob hitman was responsible. Finally, he confessed, later claiming that voices in the house told him to do it. This horrific event cast a long, dark shadow over the beautiful Dutch colonial home, setting the stage for what would come next. The house sat empty for over a year. Most people were too scared to even consider living there. But in December 1975, a young couple, George and Kathy Lutz, along with Kathy's 3 children from a previous marriage, saw an opportunity. The house was spacious, had a boathouse, a pool, and was being sold for a bargain price of $80,000. They knew about the murders, but they didn't believe it would affect them. They thought they could make it their dream home. They were wrong. The Lutz family moved in on December 18, 1975. They even had a priest come to bless the house. But according to them, the blessing went horribly wrong. As the priest, Father Mancuso, sprinkled holy water in one of the upstairs bedrooms, the former room of the 2 murdered DeFeo boys, allegedly heard a deep masculine voice command him to get out. He also claimed to feel an invisible slap. Shaken, he left, later warning the Lutzes to stay out of that specific room. After this incident, strange and terrifying things supposedly began to happen. The family reported swarms of flies appearing in the middle of winter, even after they were killed. Cold spots would move through the house, and strange, unsettling odors would appear and disappear, without explanation. Kathy Lutz said she began having vivid nightmares about the murders. She even claimed to start levitating in her sleep. She would see glowing red eyes outside the bedroom window, the eyes of a demonic, pig-like creature they nicknamed Jody. George Lutz's behavior reportedly began to change drastically. He became moody, withdrawn, and obsessed with the fireplace, constantly needing to keep it stoked with wood. He would wake up every morning at 3:15 a.m., the estimated time of the DeFeo murders, feeling an overwhelming chill. His physical appearance also changed, and he started to resemble Ronald DeFeo Jr. The children were not spared. The youngest daughter, Missy, developed an imaginary friend named Jody, the same pig-like entity Kathy saw. Missy described Jody as being able to change shape and said he told her they would live in the house forever. The front door was mysteriously ripped from its hinges. A crucifix on the wall supposedly turned upside down. Green gelatinous slime was said to ooze from the walls and keyholes. The ghostly phenomena seemed to escalate day by day. The family heard phantom footsteps and the sound of a marching band in the living room. They claimed to see an apparition of a hooded figure. The final night was the climax of their terror. According to George and Kathy, the paranormal activity reached a terrifying peak. They described furniture moving on its own, loud, violent banging sounds echoing through the house, and a feeling of being physically touched and pushed by unseen forces. They said they felt they were in mortal danger. After just 28 days, on January 14, 1976, the Lutz family grabbed only a few items of clothing and fled the house in the middle of the night. They never returned, leaving behind all their furniture, clothes, and personal belongings. They claimed that the evil in the house was too powerful, and they were lucky to have escaped with their lives. Their story, however, was just beginning. The Lutzes connected with author Jay Anson, who wrote the book The Amityville Horror, published in 1977. The book was an instant bestseller, capturing the public's imagination and terror. It was marketed as a true story. In 1979, the book was adapted into a blockbuster horror film, solidifying the house at 112 Ocean Avenue with its iconic quarter-moon windows that looked like eyes. as a symbol of pure evil in pop culture. The story became a phenomenon. But was it true? This is where things get complicated. Almost immediately after the book's publication, skeptics began to poke holes in the story. Researchers and journalists started investigating the claims and found many inconsistencies. For example, there were no police records of the Lutzes calling for help during their 28-day stay. Weather records didn't show any storms or conditions that could have ripped the heavy door from its hinges. The priest, Father Mancuso, was a real person, but his accounts were often vague and filtered through the Lutzes and the author. The biggest blow to the story's credibility came from William Weber. Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s defense attorney, Weber came forward and claimed that he, along with George and Kathy Lutz, had invented the entire story over several bottles of wine. He said the plan was to create a sensational story that they could sell to make money, which could then be used to help with DeFeo's appeal for a new trial. According to Weber, they took the real-life tragedy of the DeFeo murders and embellished it with classic horror tropes. George and Kathy Lutz, however, maintained their story was true until their deaths. They even took and passed a polygraph lie detector test. They sued William Weber for his claims, and the legal battles became just as messy and complicated as the haunting story itself. Subsequent owners of the house have reported no paranormal activity whatsoever. The Cromartie family, who bought the house after the Lutzes, lived there for 10 years and said the only scary things they experienced were the constant tourists and ghost hunters showing up on their lawn. They even sued the Lutzes and the publisher for the disruption to their lives. So, what are we to believe? Was 112 Ocean Avenue truly a portal to hell? A house so deeply saturated with evil from the DeFeo murders that it tried to claim another family? Were the Lutzes tormented by demonic forces for 28 terrifying days? Or were they a family in financial trouble who saw an opportunity to capitalize on a horrific local tragedy? Did they, with the help of a lawyer, concoct an elaborate hoax that became one of the most successful ghost stories ever told? The truth is, we may never know for sure. The story of the Amityville Horror has become a modern legend, a mix of fact, fiction, and speculation. It plays on our deepest fears. The idea that evil can linger in a place, that the very walls of our homes can turn against us. It blurs the line between a real-life crime and a supernatural tale, whether it was a genuine haunting or a brilliant hoax. The story of what happened at 112 Ocean Avenue continues to fascinate and terrify us decades later. What do you think happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the world's greatest mysteries.